Hey, welcome back to Runecast. Tonight I want to talk to you a little bit about runic numerology, and I will do a book review on this book sometime, but this is one of the most amazing books ever written about the runes. Futhark, Handbook of Rune Magic, Edward Thorson. This really blew my mind. And like I've said before in past videos, this is a newer copy. I actually wore out my first copy. So, when you're working with your books, sometimes you have to bend them over. You're really getting into the whole thing, and over the years they tend to fall apart, especially if you have cheap paperbacks like I do. So this is a new copy. Rather new. Anyway, runic numerology. People often speak of numerology in another sense. With runes, it's different. You kind of have to understand that the runes were developed in a different region of the world. And not separate and apart from Eastern traditions. Numerology, which sometimes, from what I understand, was developed, in the Near East, is quite different. This is just a whole different mindset. So, when we're talking about runes as symbols, runes as letters, runes were also the ancient people's numbers. So, I will just kind of show you a little bit about runic numerology. So every number had a meaning, of course, because it corresponded with a rune, and it goes according to the row. So there's 24 runes, basically 24 numbers. This is based on a system of 12 and 8. So it's a different system. And it comes down to us, through the millennia. We still use 12 as a basic unit of measurement today. For instance, there's 12 inches, in a foot. This goes back to the, ancient numerology of the runes. Because the alphabet is 24 characters long and each rune is assigned a number, so the alphabet is divided in two ways. First set of 12, second set of 12. 12 and 12 is 24. Also, 3 sets of 8 equals 24. So, in fact, our word for 8 comes down in the rune lore for how the runes were developed into 3 separate ets. 3 A-T-T-I-E-R, etir, or et. I believe it's called et or etir, I think. Forgive my spelling. But the 3 ets make up the entire Futhark alphabet. And each et consists of 8 runes. So our word for 8, et, etir, actually goes back to the runes. So when you're dealing with runic numerology, let's just take the first 6 letters of the alphabet, the Futhark. F, U, T, H, A, R, and K. Futhark. Erase that little line there. So these are the first. Well, let's do that. Let's do the whole et. Okay. Gibo and Wunjo. Okay, so here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. There's your first etir or et, the first 8, the first et. And so every rune, every number corresponds with a rune. For example, the number 8 has properties of Wunjo, which is happiness and joy, fulfillment, completion, the accumulation of your progress in your work. 7 is balance, giving and receiving. 6 is fire and creativity, like Kinaz is, and knowledge. 4 is communication. 5 is travel, Reho, or reunion. 3 is raw power, okay? Thurazaz, 3. Again, with the TH, if you've been following my videos, well, all TH words in the English language go back to Thor and Thurazaz, thorn, Thurazaz, thunder, 3. It's the third rune in the order. Uruz, the second rune, is primal strength and power. In Fihu, the first rune, whenever a number 1 would come up in magical workings, if it reduces down to 1, it's going to have the properties of fertility, wealth, and the goddess Freya. So, the second Et would be 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Hold on, let me get to 15. 15, 16, 17, and 18. Okay, that's your second Et, right? So we go 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I should have made them smaller. 18. There's your second Et. And then we go, of course, you go to the third Et. But what we're talking about here is numerology, runic numerology, which is different. So, for example, let's say you're doing a magical working or you're creating a bind rune. Let's take a very famous bind rune, okay? The very, very famous modern bind rune is for the Bluetooth, right? The Bluetooth is like this and like this. Okay, so what is this bind rune trying to tell us? I've never really kind of thought about it, but we know that Berkano is the 18th rune in the order. So we're going to be dealing with number 18. Also, is this Kinaz or is this Gibo with a full X? I'm going to say it's Gibo with a full X, and that's 7. Okay? So when we're dealing with runic numerology, we're going to do 18 plus 7. So we're going to break this down. We have Fihu, we have Wunjo, and we have the balance, right? That's one part of the numerology. 18 plus 7. Now, this together is 25, right? 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Yeah, 25. So also you have Uruz and Raidho. So inside this bind rune, numerologically, you also have these other runes. And of course, it takes 2 runes to make that rune. So its subprime is 2, or Uruz. It's a very strong rune. It's a very strong rune. And it has elements of fertility and balance. Also strength and Raidho, the journey. So what does this all reduce down to? Well, 2 plus 5 equals 7. So, and 1 plus 8 equals 9. So there's also a little bit of a Hagalaz element here, right? Because 1 and 8 is 9. But in the end, it reduces down to 7, which comes back to Gibo again. The balanced gift and receive. Giving and receiving. Giving and receiving. That's what it all balances down to. So when you're working with bind runes, also magical runic words, you have to keep in mind the numerology, because all of this corresponds with the bind rune that you created. There's all these other runes that are in the mix. But then when it reduces down, you want to make sure it reduces down to something you want it to be. And in the end, I think they were intending it to reduce down to 7. Because 7 is perfect balance. both giving and receiving. And so there you have some basic runic numerology. Play around with it. See what you can come up with. It comes in handy, especially when you're creating bind runes. You want to make sure in your bind rune that it has the proper numerological effects that you're trying to create in your magic. Well, that is your first little lesson in runic numerology. I'll go deeper at a later date, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching.